Which has more sugar? A glass of this Coke or a glass of this Moscato wine? If you guessed the Coke, you are wrong. Actually, this wine has more sugar per liter than a Coca-Cola. But when you taste this wine, it certainly doesn't taste as sweet as this Coke does. So how is that? Today, we're going to explore the role of sugar in wine. And the truth might just surprise you. Hi there, I'm Jacqueline for Vero, and we go around the world searching out wild and scarce, hard-to-find wines to bring to our consumers, businesses, and distributors across the US. For us, when we are tasting new wines and new vintages, an important consideration is the perception of sweetness that we find in a wine. In our last video, we talked a lot about what exactly is sweetness in wine, what sugars are present, and some other terms that we can use to refer to residual sugar in sparkling wines. I recommend that you go check that out when we are all done here. I'll have that linked at the end to brush up. What we alluded to, however, in that video is that while residual sugar, or RS, and sugar does play a big part in sweet sensations present in a wine, it's actually not the end-all be-all of sweetness. There are actually a lot of things that can influence it, making it either seem more sweet or seem less sweet. In the previous video, we talked about the things like glycerin and pectin that will give more sweet sensations to a wine. But there are other things that can do that too, like a jammy, overcooked fruit flavor will also give the impression of sweetness. In reality, there are actually other things that can also hide the sugar content in wine, making the wines with residual sugar actually seem less sweet than they really are, which was the case in the Moscato we saw earlier. This is why a lot of American wine drinkers are considered to talk dry but drink sweet. This means that they will often prefer or desire a dry wine, but really when given a choice, they will actually choose a wine with a little bit of a residual sugar content or sweeter wine. What do I mean by this? Well, for example, sugar and acidity will naturally balance each other out. So wines that have a high acidity will actually benefit from a touch of residual sugar. Think about our discussions of Czech wines in past videos. How the cold weather in the historically cooler Czech Republic has produced super acidic grapes. So it was common for winemakers to leave a touch of sugar in their wines to help balance out this acidity. And it's still done today to some extent to honor tradition and what the Czech people like to drink. We see this in a lot of the Czech Republic winery Thaya's wines, where some of them are actually considered off-dry and have surprising amounts of residual sugar. However, when you taste them, you would actually never guess that they were off-dry. This is thanks to a well-balanced acidity. A similar effect that we will see is what happens with a wine like the Perla Nera, a Schioppettino wine from Friuli Venezia Giulia. Legally, the RS will deem this wine a dessert wine, and this is because the grapes were air-dried like an Amarone. However, while the wine does have a good acidity, there are other factors that come into play to help balance out the sweetness. Things like tannins, which the red wine has quite a lot of naturally. As well, the peppery, herbal spice flavors of the Schioppettino, especially when air-dried, will give the impression of a full-bodied red wine rather than a fruitier, sweet dessert wine. And when we look at genuinely sweet wines, like this Moscato that has 135 grams per liter of residual sugar, you will taste that sweetness, but thanks to the acidity and the sapidity present from good winemaking, it is not cloyingly sweet and overpowering. This is a refreshing, balanced, and fruit-forward wine. And that fruit is what will sometimes also help give the impression of sweetness. After all, fruit is generally associated with sweet flavors, as fruit is in and of itself sweet. And so oftentimes, to meet American palates with a preference for fruit-forward wines, big wineries will pump extra unnecessary sugar into their wines to help bring out fruity characteristics. That is why it is really important to know that if there is residual sugar in a wine, that it's natural sugar. Sugar that comes from the grape being concentrated in such a way to leave the natural sugars in the final product. This is not added sugar. When we here at Vero curate our wines from small farmers, one of the things we ask them is, do they use any additives? These can be things like extra sugar added. And we import and work with farmers that craft their wines with as little addition as possible. No added sugars. So really, the only tiniest amount of sulfites or a yeast to help fermentation in sticky years is what you're going to find. This means when you browse the Vero shop on verovino.com, you are looking at only unadulterated real wines. These are wines with real flavors, real tastes, and no added sugar or added chemicals. When you have a look at our sweet and dessert wine category, rest assured that the wines under that label are made with natural sugars. No artificial sweeteners here. So head over to the link in the description below to peruse some small production, real wines in the Vero shop. We can ship directly to your home, or contact us for business and wholesale pricing. Also, make sure to sign up for the Vero newsletter so that you'll be notified whenever we get new unadulterated wines in stock. Thank you for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video and learned something, please leave a like below. It's always appreciated. Subscribe also for more content and when we drop new videos like this. If you like sweet wines, I would recommend checking out this video here. I think you're gonna find it interesting. I'll see you in that video there. Bye.